Well, here is where we are currently at. We worked on this last night and could not get this final drive on. We were rushing ourselves and we had too many guys on it. Me and Sarah fought quite a while getting this left side on, but after a while we got it. Kind of fell into place. This side here, however, like I was saying, we rushed it and we had too many hands and fingers and eyes on it, and it just did not want to go on. So we wrestled with it so much that we actually disrupted the ring gear part of the case from the differential, or the final drive rather. So I'm going to split this off. I've got some sealant on there already. I need to lay it down in order to clean up this surface on the other side. So doing these projects in the past, everybody advised, oh, get some dowel rods. Well, all right, we're going to try it. But I've got 6 rods in there. I don't know if it's exactly going to work, but hey, you know what? We're going to try it. So what I'm going to do is get this split. We put some extra sealant down on the bottom of the differential case because we still had oil coming out of this final drive. We kind of thought maybe that's why you see sealant there. So we'll split this ring off. We'll just set this right onto there, and then we can clean the surface up where these two mate together. Clean this surface, seal it, put it back on there. Then we're going to try it with the dowel rods. All that is M16 all thread. I tried to get some long bolts, but you know, these wiggle a little bit, and they're going to wiggle in the housing. I don't think it's going to work, but hey, we'll try it. If that doesn't work, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang it from a chain. We'll just put a nut on the other side, hang it from a chain. I think a lot of our problem is we have the forks underneath there, and we're limiting ourselves to the movement that we need to have, and we're trying to do too much with too little. So we'll go ahead and get things cleaned up. We'll try the dowel rod process. That doesn't work, we're going to hang it from a chain. Andrew will be out of school here in a little while. He might be over here to help me finish this up. Everybody went to spread manure here today, and it is one of the colder days we've seen, and we had some problems getting manure equipment going here this morning, and some of it was self-inflicted. These guys are going to get things figured out here soon, I hope. So let's go ahead and get things prepared, and we'll join back up in a minute here. Well, here is where we are at. We've got the ring gear itself back onto the final drive. We've got that cleaned up, sealed up. Everything's kind of setting in place. Now we had 6 threaded rods in the differential case. We pulled 4 out, drove it in on the 2, and then these other 4, I double nutted them so that I had a way to start them into the differential case. So we've got everything all true and plumb. We've never done it this way. We're just kind of giving it a try. We're kind of alone here now anyways, and we'll try to put that in there. We'll see how it goes. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna hang it with a chain to try to get it in there. Alright, the dowel pin trick definitely does not work. I'm not making any more headway trying it this way than going in there without the dowel pins. You can't even let it down. This is so heavy that it just wants to pull them bolts down, just as I kind of suspected anyhow. So we're gonna have to pull this out, set it down on a block of wood, come into it with a chain on top of the fork, somewhere in here, and try to free hang it that way. So it was a great idea, but in the real world, that does not work. Maybe if this was a little final drive on a go-kart or something, that would work, but that thing is heavy, heavy, heavy. 6 bolts ain't gonna hold it, and I'm not gonna put all of them in. So, yeah. Alright, so now we got our dowel rods moved, and we've got this hung from a chain. We got just one of the old final drive bolts in there with a nut on the other side. The thinking is once we get that aligned and on there, there's 4 inches of room. Once this comes into contact with this input gear, there's a 4-inch gap. So once we get that started and on there, we could use our threaded rods to kind of pull it in and hold it into place, let it down, pull this bolt out. I'll just reach down in there, grab that nut, and get it off of there. This input gear, I don't know if I've shown you the inside of this planetary, but what we're doing is we're lining it up to these gears here. These are all in line with each other. It's just getting it started on there. We don't have to line up 3 of them. Them 3 are already timed with the ring gear that's on there. This guy. So we'll try to put that in there with it hanging from the chain. It has a little more freedom. In other words, we can do this, we can move it back and forth. With the forks underneath it, it was limiting it, I think, too much. And this is the basically the same concept of how we've done this before with that bracket that I made that bolts into, well, we just ran a cap screw down through the hole in the fork here, right into the top of that final drive. So let's put that on there. One on there. So, yeah, I'm not quite clocked right. So I'm going to hit these lines here. I got about 1.5 inches to put that in there. Yeah, that is in there. We need to rotate it just a little bit so that we can get a bolt more or less started. Boy, it ain't off all that bad. Got to turn maybe a half a hole. Alright, what we've got is some 1-inch nuts that we're going to use as big washers. And there we go. I thought you were started. Yeah, there it is. We might be able to let down. What that'll do is that'll keep it from sliding off. Run these guys in there. We'll get a few of them just to hold it, so we can get the forks out from underneath it here. Okay, so this took us about 5 minutes to put on there. I've got four threaded rods in there just to hold it. We've got to get the pressure off of this chain to get this bolt out, and then push it in a little farther. Maybe put the forks underneath it and get it to go back in. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to let it hang there on everything. We're going to try it though. Alright, we're going to want to work fast here. And we're going to want to get right underneath this as fast as we can with the forks and push this guy right on in there. Taking too much time here, I'm going to drop it. Mucho in there. Get the bolts in, pull these guide pins out, and we'll roll this forklift out the way. So dowel pins don't work. They're just in there now to hold it on there while we situated the forks here, but we could have probably put a floor jack underneath it with a stand or something to hold it up, but that ain't all that safe either. So let's go ahead and get some hardware in there. Alright, so we've got all of our bolts in tight and torqued. Got our axle cleaned up. I'm going to paint these bolts here in a minute. Now, I had to remove this sump line. Comes off, goes around to the filter housing. Had to remove that so I could sneak in underneath with the forks. The sump strainer is in behind that line. I got the strainer all cleaned. However, it wasn't that dirty. But there is quite a bit of debris, brake material in the bottom of this differential case. So we're going to clean that out, get our line on there, our hose, and then they've already installed new filters. Run a little bit of paint around that final drive, and then we'll bring our wheel weight over and put that on. So we just need to clean that out. Okay, so this job is just about coming to a close. I've got to put hydraulic oil in it yet. We originally drained the differential just so that when we took this back end apart, we didn't have it bleeding all over the floor. We cleaned the clean oil sump screen. We had to pull the line off anyway so that when we went underneath that final drive, we weren't going to smash into it with the forks on the forklift. So we've got that screen cleaned. We've drained the transmission oil. We've got that screen taken out of the transmission. You don't have to take that screen out unless there's visible stuff in there. However, I couldn't get the drain plug out of the bottom of the transmission case. So we removed the hydraulic control valve, pulled that off, and then pulled the suction screen out, drained the oil out of this IVT transmission through the sump screen hole. We're draining the ILS suspension, independent link suspension. We're draining that as well. This is a single hydraulic fluid for the front suspension, the transmission, and the differential. Being that these brake components wore out, all that metal material went through the whole system. So we need to drain all of the oil. We have installed new filters. We'll put new oil in it, and then we'll go on our merry way here. We can roll in underneath this here, and we'll show you this drain plug that would not come out. And we've got the hydraulic control valve sitting on the step and the plug that goes in the back side of this transmission where the sump screen is. So you can see the discoloration on the bottom of the transmission there. That's the actual drain plug, and you can usually look up in and inspect the actual screen, which is on the bench. We'll show you that in a minute. I could not move that son of a gun, and I did not want to blow the center out of it and then be stuck with problems here. So that's why we drained it the way we did. And we're draining. Well, that's still got oil coming out of it there. And we've got this transmission screen on the bench. There was some materials that came out. I don't know what this is. This transmission has been gone through. I don't know what this is. I'm going to send this over to Kaz and see if they can't maybe figure it out. It almost looks like a tie around a hydraulic hose or something. But we're going to send that back over to Kaz to see if they can look at it. The screen didn't have nothing else in it. I haven't even sprayed it with any cleaner yet. So we'll get the oil in it, and then we can roll this out the door. This kicked my ass putting this back right side together. I took the wheel off of the hub. I could not get the hub back on there individually, so we ended up putting the hub in the wheel, and then we put the wheel on all as one with the center hub. I was going to chain the axle to the hub and put the the final drive in that way, but yeah, I don't think that would have worked too well either. And I think the way I did it, or the way I've been doing it, is the fastest way to do it. So on these hubs, I don't know if you noticed me running around these, but they are numbered. They want you to tighten them in a sequential order. They have numbers right in the castings, but I can't see it that well, so I write it in with a Sharpie. And that works a little better that way. And then we've got everything torqued and tight. We'll have to rejoin these wheel studs in a week or so to tighten them up again. But now we're going to get our plugs back in and get some oil into this. So you gonna miss this tractor?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are?
Yeah.
You're gonna miss it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you're graduating to a a more bigger tractor.
This one's so nice. I like it.
Yeah. Well, Alex was hauling manure, but she's out of manure to haul, and she's waiting for some pumps to get going, right?
Yeah.
How do you like being the big hauler?
A little bit scary.
A little bit scary? Oh, all right. Well, we are wrapping this job up. Now, I had a couple of questions during and while we've been doing this job here. We kind of addressed it earlier, the dowel pins and doing it this way and that way. We tried it your way. It doesn't work. Maybe when you put a final drive in a 1066 or a 4020, you can get away with using the dowel rod, same size, 5/8. I don't know, maybe that 1066, being it's got a smaller differential than a Deere, maybe that only uses 1/2 inch, but it don't work on these big boys. The other question I had was, what kind of oil do you use? We've got High Guard going in. We use Navigard. We gotta back this down a little bit. We might have to turn it on. Might have to run the tractor some. But at any rate, we use Navigard. We use Navigard, High Trance, and Mobile Delvac Super 1300 or something like that. There has been different thoughts out there that if you don't use John Deere High Guard, you'll wear out the brakes faster. I don't know if that's true or not. We had a transmission done in this tractor a year or two after we bought it. Kaz put High Guard in it. We changed oils here. Not this past winter. No, it was this past winter, a year ago. And on the IVT tractors, this one, 7290, and the 7930, we purposely put John Deere High Guard in them just so that we could conserve on the transmission. These IVT transmissions, we have not had good luck with them. This one got rebuilt. The transmission in the 7290 has gotten built twice or repaired. John Deere doesn't even want to put this transmission behind a like a 410. I think 370 might be the biggest tractor. The E23 is the transmission of choice. What we're going to need to do here in a few minutes after I get done jaw jacking is start this tractor up, let it run for a while, let it pump the oil from the clean oil supply up into the transmission, and then get it up into the IVT. But we're jaw jacking here. Another question I had was, how do you know the brakes are gone? Well, sometimes you can hear a grinding noise, but I have heard that grinding noise for years on the older tractors, 4020, 4430, all them older tractors. Maybe they get a warped disc or something and they'll growl some. Another sign that your brakes are failing is if you start plugging hydraulic filters. If you start plugging hydraulic filters, you are going to hope and wish that your brakes are gone, because you don't want anything wrong with your transmission. Brakes are just a wear item. If you got something wrong with your transmission at some point in time, you're going to have to do the brakes anyways. So to plug the filters, and then usually the oil has got a lot of metallic in it. Transferring this from one pail to the other, you could see the gray. Well, you guys might not be able to see it on camera, but you can kind of see the grayness pulling up in the pail that I'm pouring it into. So that is another sign that your brakes are gone. Another question I got quite a little while ago is, what's better for a shop towel, these blue ones or the red ones? The red ones are better. These are a Y pail, like 475 of them come in a roll. We've got a dispenser right there. It's at a perfect spot to catch on fire, by the way, if we're grinding on the bench. But at any rate, it is cheaper for us to run these red towels than it is to run grease rags from a linen company. They're more absorbent, and they're just more accessible. You can stack a bunch of these in a pile and take them with you, and you'll get just as much use out of one of these as you will a cloth towel. And they are better than these Scott towels. These Scott towels are more or less a glorified paper towel, and these guys here are probably twice as thick, and you'll get a lot more out of them. It's kind of like comparing toilet paper to a paper towel. It's about that much of a difference. Now, the components that came out of this tractor, this is the brake disc here, which all of the material is wore off this one side. This side was up against the piston. You can see the piston is quite wore out. The opposite side of this disc that came up against the pressure plate, we've got just a little bit of wear, but a lot of that is probably the metallics that were in the oil that has wore against the disc. And then, of course, this is the disc from the left-hand side. So far with these brakes that we've done in the past few years, it's always the last side that we take apart is the worst. Both sides of this disc here are about the same, and then of course this piston that was on the left side is not all that bad. Now somebody said, hey, can you just turn it over? No, you cannot turn the piston over. It's got a different lip here on the inner side, and you cannot turn it over and reuse it. This disc, this piston rather, we could probably have used this one over again, and we probably could have used the pressure plate that was in there as well. Well, hold on a second. Let me get the paperwork and we'll tell you how much these parts cost here. All right, I wasn't prepared to discuss parts pricing here, but the piston itself was $878. That's this guy. The compression, the plate, which is actually on the floor over there, that was $992. And the brake disc was, I don't have my glasses on here, $656. And then we had 36 bolts, which were $12 a piece. So this job had a couple of other parts added to it, but it was $3,500 on this ticket. And the brake job, there was a $400 part that we didn't use on this tractor. About $3,100 for the parts that we put into the tractor, and we got a barrel of oil, some filters. So you're looking at, I don't know, $42 or $300 anyway. This tractor has just under 8,000 hours on it. Now, I know in the comment section we're going to get to guys talking about, geez, I've never had to put a set of brakes on any of my tractors. Well, we have a lot of hills. This isn't on a spreader that much. It's on a dump wagon a little bit. Traveling the roads, going from field to field. IVT transmission. You're just going to pull the throttle back. You have to use the brakes to slow down. I don't know what to tell you other than that. It's a wear and tear item. I know some guys don't even replace tires. This is going to need a set of tires. However, I don't think I'm going to put tires on this spring. I think we're going to run this another year. The 8320, the tires that are on it are worse than this one, and I think we're going to roll a set of rubber on that here this spring. So I need to start this tractor up, let it run for a couple of minutes so that it can pump that oil up into the front transmission and ILS suspension. Then I can pump the rest of the oil out of this barrel. What we're using is a diaphragm pump. The pumps that are on those barrels, they're run by air as well. I just figured it would be better to run this diaphragm pump that we used for used oil. Yes, the line was all cleaned out. This tractor with the front end and the transmission, the differential is going to hold around 46 gallons or so. So we're going to have about 9 left over from that barrel. So that is going to do it for this one. After we get this pulled out, we're going to pull a spreader in, put the shaft and bearings into that. Then we've got a payloader to work on. And it looks like we've got this pin to replace too. That broke a while ago. All right, take it easy, folks. We'll catch you at the next one.